Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first Ask Mira Wed Q&A session. This is going to be a somewhat regular feature in which we will take your questions about your event or wedding planning process and answer them for you. No contract required, just pure unobjective advice from someone or team of someone's who have seen a lot of stuff over the past 9 years. So this question comes from Katie M., who is planning a wedding in Tahoe for 2018. And she is asking probably the most basic question of all is, how do I get started? What is the first thing I should do once I'm engaged and it's time to actually start planning? So Katie and everyone else in the same spot, the very first thing that you need to do is come up with two very important documents. I love spreadsheets, so I'll probably say spreadsheets because they're the best. But somehow, some way, you need to figure out who's coming to your wedding or event and what your overall budget is going to look like. And these can be two very, very difficult things to put together if you don't have enough information, or if you and fiance disagree on a few things, or if you're just purely not educated on who to invite or what an event of this magnitude is going to cost. So let's start with guest list. Your guest list can go on forever. So it's very important right away that you decide who is going to be invited to this event. Is this going to be purely family only? Is this going to be immediate family only? Is this going to be something that you are going to allow your parents or maybe bridesmaids or groomsmen or other important people that are involved in your event to have some say over who gets invited? So it's really important to have these conversations early on and very, very, very much stick to whatever is decided. If it's immediate family only, then that's where it needs to stay. I had a recent client earlier this year who was coming out from Georgia and Florida, across the country for a very small elopement style wedding ceremony and reception. So not quite elopement because they're bringing people, but they made the decision to have just immediate family. So even though it killed them not to have their very, very best friends there, they were very, very strict and stuck to immediate family on the bride and groom side only. And that allowed them to have a wonderful, beautiful, very intimate event where they were able to get the things that they wanted to, stay within a specific budget, and share this really important moment with those that were closest to them. If that's not your style, if you need to have all your buddies there, that's completely fine. Just understand that with every person that gets added on, there are some significant per person costs that are going to increase as a result of the added people onto a guest list. So most notably, you need to feed everybody. You need to provide amenities for each person. So that goes beyond just food and alcohol, but also relates to things like linens and rentals and plates and chairs. Are there enough amenities on the property that you're going to be having the event? Are there enough restrooms? Is there enough power to support the activity of this many people? So while you might be searching for a reason to cap your guest list, you might want to start looking at the place or the places that you're considering holding the event and see if that helps you kind of narrow things down. Because again, it's very, very easy to continue adding once you've started your guest list. It's very difficult to stop and take people off. It's very heartbreaking. A good rule of thumb, and there's all kinds of wonderful flow charts and spreadsheets, yeah, love spreadsheets, that are out there on Pinterest or on wedding websites like The Knot and Wedding Wire that help you kind of go through this Q&A process of, is this person really important enough to invite to my event? Another big sticking point with guest lists is children. So are you going to allow children at your event? And I feel like this is kind of another topic, but just know that you are perfectly entitled to either request or disallow having children under the age of 18 or 12 or whatever you feel like is appropriate from coming to your event. Now, children are generally a little bit less expensive to feed. They obviously don't drink alcohol, so that's a huge cost saver, but they're still a person. They're a body that needs to sit in a chair, so they need the same amount of rentals, etc. And even having children at your event can incur additional costs, such as entertainment for the children, babysitters, etc. So first and foremost, however you want to do it, figure out what your priorities are in terms of your guest list. Get a preliminary guest list going, have a solid number of people that you expect to be there, and then use that as your planning point from that point forward. Now, the second thing to do is to come up with a budget. Now, we have a wonderful system that we use where we customize a budget per event, but you can go onto almost any wedding website and come up with a sample budget. But it's very important that you do a little bit of research to figure out what average costs for your specific area are. Being in California, when we do events in California, the budgets look a lot different from the events that we do in Arizona and other places across the country. So it's really important that you understand what type of wedding budget is realistic for your guest size in the environment or the area that you want to have your event at. So you can go through and come up with some numbers and put it all together to make sure that you've thought of everything. We need to think about venue site fees for both ceremony and reception if you're planning a wedding. We also need to consider, obviously, again, food and alcohol, two huge components in a budget that are directly related to the size of your guest list. We need to consider things like flowers and decorations, and even if you want them to be simple, there's a lot of things that go into having simple decor. So we need to make sure that you have a very clear understanding, and we as wedding planners, or anyone that you talk to has a very clear understanding of what your expectations are so that you can get the right budget going. So my suggestion is to get all of this information compiled and then look at it, and it's probably going to be a higher number than you expected it to be, but that's someplace that you can work backwards from there. You can cut corners. There's smart ways to save money while still getting the level of service that you might want, and most importantly, the outcome on the day of. The level of photography that you're looking for, the type of decorations that you're looking for, the level of service that you're looking for within a catering company. So the two most important things to get started, again, are your guest list and your budget. And these are two things that we do for all but one of our planning packages. And we are more than happy to do a budget outline for anyone that is not really sure about how they're going to go through this process. So that is an a la carte service that we are happy to offer here at MIRA Events. If you want us to come up with a customized budget for you based on your guest list, where you're expecting to get married, or have your event, we are more than happy to do that for you, again, as an a la carte service. So contact us today. So let's recap. If you want to get started, you are ready to start planning your special event, you want to go, 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 the first thing that you need to do is to come up with a very realistic guest list based off of where you're going to be having your event, what time of year you're going to be having your event, the travel, accommodations. If you already have a venue picked out, make sure that your estimated guest count will fit within that venue nicely, and make sure that you guys have a clear understanding of who and who will not be invited based on what you guys can do, what you can afford, and most importantly, what you want to happen on the day of. So once you've got your guest list taken care of, go into creating a budget, come up with an outline of things that you think that you'll like. If you wanted to, you can have a professional like us go over that budget with you or help you create it so that you have a very clear, very realistic platform to start planning from. So hopefully that helps some of you get on the right track, and we are ready to take next week's questions. So make sure that you tweet us or Instagram us, Facebook message us, or email us doing hashtag AskMiraWed, and we will be back with another question next week. Happy planning!